When some hear the word marketing, they cringe. In fact, right now, you may have felt the insides cringe really tight in your own body because maybe you feel the same way. And the more authors I meet and get the pleasure of working with, the more I realize you are in good company. I'd rather be writing than marketing, Stephanie, is a typical comeback I get. And listen, I get it. Well, well, not really, because I actually love book marketing, but I do understand. Many think marketing means more, something you have to keep doing, big and flashy, a drag on the momentum that you're wanting to make in your life. But I'm here to tell you that marketing is about reaching people where they are when they want you to. That's it. Period. End of story. Truly and honestly, that is the core of what marketing is. And not all marketing efforts have to be more than what you're currently doing. In fact, some of the most effective marketing tactics are simple and they pair beautifully with what you are already doing in your life with your book and your message. So, this season of the Empowered Author podcast, I am uncovering some unique and effective book marketing ideas that you can implement now, today, like right this minute. Maybe not all of them, but many of them you can start planning if it inspires you. I can't wait to share some of my favorites with you, so let's dive in. Hey, I'm Stephani Feger, and Empower is my middle name. Okay, well, not really, but it should be. I believe that empowered people empower people, and I am obsessed with empowering you, the nonfiction author, with impactful marketing strategies to help you take your important message and share it with those who desperately need it and want it and will buy it. As the owner and chief strategist of the Empower PR Group and the author of books myself, I have merged my love for reading books and writing books and marketing books to help nonfiction authors like you with laser-focused strategies and tactics to write books that sell, to promote books to those who need and want them most, and build meaningful businesses from empowering messages. Think of this as your one-stop shop for marketing insights from an author who has been there, done that, and understands exactly where you are. So get your pens ready because I'm ready to empower you, my nonfiction author friend. This is the Empowered Author Podcast. On this episode of the Empowered Author Podcast, I am so excited for you to get to meet someone who has been so meaningful in my journey to author and authorpreneurship. I don't think I'd be where I am today if it wasn't for Cathy Fyock, who happens to be joining us today to share a really fun, unique, and yet very simple, Cathy, marketing strategy for authors. And I am really pumped that you're here. Cathy, thanks for joining.
Oh, I'm so delighted to be here, Stephani.
Would you have ever thought that, how many years ago, 4 years ago, that we'd be sitting here talking about all of this fun stuff?
No, this is so cool.
Although,
This is the power of books, though. I mean, this is what books do for
yeah,
one's career and trajectory of their business and all of that. Yeah.
books change people and books have power. And actually, when I asked you if you imagined that we would be here, you said no. You probably could have seen this more than I could have, because if it wasn't for you and the publisher that published my first book, I don't think I would have ever considered this path that I feel really called to be on and that God's pushed me down. Right. So I look back at all of that and think, yeah, Cathy, from day one, you always saw something more. And I love that you challenge authors to see more and to do more. And to be
think
more.
bigger, think bigger. Yes.
Don't be limited.
No, because your impact can be so enormous with a book and with your outreach. So the sky's the limit.
It really is. It's proof that every story matters and every person
Yes.
matters. And all of it has a potential to kind of take you down a unique path. And I feel like I really want to jump into the meat of this, but I feel like I have to tell a bit of our story first, because
Sure.
that is a beautiful path in and of itself. I look back on it, Cathy, and And I know both you and I are women of faith, so I can say this, but it was totally, totally God on how we found each other.
Oh, yes.
100%. 100%. He had a much bigger plan than I ever had. And it was through a very unique, serendipitous series of events that I found you. See, I was writing a book in silence, which I think probably a lot of your authors are.
Yes, they
Yeah, I
are.
mean,
They
you don't
are.
even know you're writing a book sometimes. I didn't. I
Hmm.
didn't have a clue that that's what I was doing. But as I was writing in silence, I was also managing three little bitty kiddos. And my
Hmm.
pediatrician saw me falling apart and invited me to a Bible study in a like 45 minutes from my house, not in the same church or denomination I go to. And literally, I said yes. And that saying yes started a trickled path to find Cathy and then kind of fulfill a bigger purpose. It just so happened that you go to the church. You weren't in the Bible study, but you go to the church.
Right.
And the day that I decided to share a chapter of my book, somebody said, "Hey," or I didn't know it was a chapter of the book, some
Hmm.
form of inspiration.
Right.
Somebody said, "Yeah, I've got somebody you need to meet. Her name's Cathy, and I think she's going to help you make this happen." That was the
I
beginning of it
know.
all.
I know. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and
God
then
does have a way of directing us to the right people and in the right ways.
right, and the right people at the right time, and gives you a little like bread crumbles, and you're the one that gets to decide if you're going to do something with. I think it took me probably 6 months before I ever called you, and then said, "Yes, Cathy, let's do this." So you became my book coach. You helped me make my first book a reality. You helped connect me to the publishing world, and then I had the opportunity to merge all of the beautiful stuff that I knew before authorship and with after authorship and everywhere in between. And you have really been a guide in that process. Like I learned so much from you on the insights because you've worked with so many authors. Do you have like a running list of how many authors you've helped?
It's over 200 now.
Oh my gosh. And many of those authors have written multiple books. So if you really break that apart, Cathy,
I
holy
know.
moly.
I know. I know the impact just continues to grow, and it is thrilling. It is truly thrilling.
Yeah, I had somebody once ask me, Stephanie, are you going to have any more kids? And I'm like, I have three. Isn't that plenty? I said, I'm just going to birth books. Like, books will be my babies now. No more children. Three. I'll have more books. But yeah, I think that's amazing. And
Mhm.
with over 200 authors that you've been able to help, I really feel like you have a good sense of what works and what doesn't. What are things you should do, and what are things you should do now versus later? And that's really what I want to talk about today because one of your, I think, coolest marketing ideas is so beautiful and simple and how it's executed. Before we get there, Cathy, I alluded you're a book coach and you've been
Mhm.
able to help a lot of people kind of bring that to life. Talk to me for just real quick. I'm curious how you ever got into this business. Like, what is it about books that made you excited?
Well, I've always felt that books are magical and they have a magic power that nothing else compares with.
Yeah,
I've written articles, I've written blog posts, but nothing is as powerful as a book.
yeah.
I mean, I've given speeches at conferences, but again, it's the book that is so powerful. But what was happening is I was working in a job that I was not happy with. I wanted to get back to consulting in my own thing, and I got a call from the National Speakers Association. And the president said, Kathy, I had a rumor that you wrote some of your books in less than 6 weeks. And I said, well, yes, actually, I wrote at the time 4 of my 5 books in less than 6 weeks. And he
Gosh.
said, oh my gosh, do you have a process? And I said, well, let me think about it a minute. Yeah, I guess I do. He said, would you be willing to give a program about your process? And I said, oh, I would be delighted. But he said, but wait. What I'd really like for you to do, we have a couple of our chapter members who are working on their books. Would you be willing to coach them using your process and then give a program? And so
Yes.
I said, yes, yes, I know it works for me. I'm so curious to know if it works for someone else. So I started working with these two women, and pretty quickly they said, have you ever thought about being a book coach? And I said, no, is there such a thing? Is there a need? And they assured me that there was. So, I gave my program for my chapter. And once again, I've been a member of the National Speakers Association for more than 30 years. And my friends came up to me and said, Kathy, have you ever thought about being a book coach? And I said, okay, God, I've got it. So that was in the spring of 2013, and by January 2014, I launched my new business as a book coach.
That's amazing. That is amazing, Kathy. And I love, a couple things. You mentioned NSA, the National Speakers Association, and that's actually not
Yes.
one of the 6 unique marketing ideas we're sharing in this season, but it is something that I think is really smart for
Oh,
authors who
yeah.
are looking to really realize that they wrote a book because they have a message to share, but also because they want to invite their message into the lives of other people. I think one of the
Yes.
main ways to do that is by speaking. NSA is a
Yes.
great tool and resource. Absolutely.
Yes.
The other thing I think it's cool is like listening to your journey and then reflecting on mine. Kathy, you like paid it forward for me because after I was shared information about how I was going to launch my book, you called me and said, "How do you know how to do that? Like, have you ever thought about helping other?" I'm like, no. So it's fun to hear that what other people see in you that you don't see in yourself and what that can kind of do. So,
It's
oh,
so
that's so cool.
important to listen to other people. Listen to what other people tell you because that may be God whispering in your ear to try
Yes.
this next thing.
Yes, 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 yes. So, with over 200 authors, you've been able to help now, and many, many more to come. I think you could probably agree with me
Hmm.
and say that, people write books because they have a message they want to share and they want to share it. But, Kathy, that is not easy for everybody, like to just go out and talk about their book. So, I've been alluding to your cool marketing idea. I think we need to dive in. I think the
Yes.
your button. You're wearing it today. I see it right now. Kathy has created the Ask Me About My Book button and probably has a gazillion over there. Yeah, you've got them already. She takes them everywhere with her. I
Yes.
think it's great.
Everywhere. Yes, and
They're
they're on.
everywhere.
I have stickers, so I have stickers that go on my computer, my phones, and I give them to my clients
You
because
do. I
this
love
I
it.
have found is the most magical tool to help authors do, well there's multiple purposes and multiple benefits from this button. First of
Hmm.
all, it's just so cool when I hand it to someone who says that they're going to be working on a book. Some people say, "Oh, I can't put this on. I don't have it. It's not written out." No,
Yep.
no, that's why you put it on. You're
Yep.
stepping into this intention. You're going to do this, and it is powerful to get you moving in the right direction. So it sets that intention. One of my clients told me it sat on her dresser for like a month before she had the nerve to
So,
put it on, and even then she had it on under her sweater or jacket or something.
what is it about us? Like we get so excited about writing a book, but the moment we have to tell someone about it, it's
I
like,
know. I
oh,
know.
I mean, I can't remember the first time I put it on myself, but I did it and I was terrified that somebody would actually ask me about my book. And
Yeah.
then when they did, Kathy, I realized it wasn't so scary. It was actually kind of cool. And
Yes.
and for those of you all listening, the button is so simple. It's a black button with with white text on it. It just says, "Ask me about my book." There's nothing else on it. It's not meant to be flashy or showy, but it is something that draws people's attention in. And that's what actually, from a marketing perspective, Kathy, like brilliant using dark background with white content because it pops. That white font really, really pops. But it's, you're standing in Starbucks line and what are you gonna, oh, someone's got something. Maybe they'll talk to you about it. You're at the grocery, you're out at a soccer, a practice,
Yes.
wherever you wear it.
Wherever is right. And you wear it. And the more you wear it, the more you get to talk about your book, the more clarity it gives you.
Yeah.
Not only does are you speaking your book into the world, but you are also getting clarity about your book's message. What I find
Yeah.
that so many authors struggle with that summary description of what is their book about, or
Hmm.
just summarizing it and saying it quickly. this makes you practice that, stating your thesis statement, because every time someone says, "Oh, Kathy, you have a book," I have to say, "Yes, let me tell you about my book." And then I have to speak it. I also get feedback that way, which
Mhm.
gives me valuable information as I'm writing the book about how I might take the content. For example, if someone says, "Oh, did you read that latest Wall Street Journal article?" and I haven't read it, well, that
Mhm.
gives me a great resource to go to for very current information. So I love this notion of wearing it to gather information about my book. But at some
Yes.
point, when one of my authors said, "Oh my gosh, your book did magic," she finally published her book, and she was going into her local Starbucks or whatever, and she had some of her books with her, and she actually sold books that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm raising my hand because that's happened to me before. And like tip for those listening, if you're going to wear a button or a sticker or something like Kathy recommends, make sure that you have the wherewithal to be able to sell a book. Like, do you have your stripe
Yes.
connected to your phone or your square connected to your phone? And do you have books in the back of your trunk? If not, you're not,
Always.
you
Always.
you always have that. Yeah, so when I was thinking about really why I think this is such a cool marketing idea, Kathy, I realized, kind of a couple of ideas come to mind. One, what it does is if you have a book, it pushes you to talk about it. And too many times as
Yes.
authors, I don't know about you. I mean, even though writing a book is so much a part of me, it's a vulnerable part of me. It's a very deep part of me, but
Yes, it
it's
is.
scary to talk about. I mean, because I don't want someone to judge, or I'm afraid, or I don't know. I mean, we live in a world where there's so many. Everybody has a business, or they're selling something, and so we don't want to feel that way. But it's not that way in the book space.
Yeah.
People think authors are pretty daggone cool, and
They
they
do.
realize that they either have always wanted to be one or to know someone as like really cool. And the button helps you connect with people in ways you never would have. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and go, "Oh my gosh, you wrote a book. Well, I don't know where to begin." Or "That's something I've always wanted to do. How hard is it?" Or "Oh my gosh, was that a lot of work?" The conversations that stem from that simple sentence are
Yes.
magic.
They are magical. They are absolutely magical. And here's the thing too. I'd like because some of your listeners and folks out there maybe think, "Oh, I got to get a button. I got to get a
Mhm.
button. Where do I get a button?" Well, you don't have to just have a button.
Right.
It's a mindset. So, for
Yep.
example, on your email signature, do you
Mhm.
have author of the forthcoming book?
Yep.
Or if your book is already published, author of the book with a picture of the book or a link to
Yep.
Amazon. I mean, those things are really important that you are
Mhm.
thinking about mentioning it, and that becomes part of who you are. So it's part of your bio, your
Yep.
introduction, your website, all of those things.
Yep.
Uh, that
Mhm.
it's just inherently a part of those.
Yeah, and if you're uncomfortable talking about it outside of your work time, your author work time, I heard somebody in another group that I'm a part of acknowledge this, and I just want to reiterate, you wrote a book for a reason, and it's because you want to help somebody. I don't care what it is. I mean, really, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it's because you want to help somebody. Either you transport them into a magical world of make believe that allows them to enjoy
That's right.
something, or you're teaching them, or you're sharing whatever reason it's to help someone. What good are you helping if you're not talking about it? So that door opener allows you to allow the magic to happen to somebody else. And you also, Kathy, never know who might be looking to hire you. So, like we just talked about NSA and speaking, many authors really beautifully graduate into the speaking space after or during the books being done
Yes.
and created. The person in Starbucks might be looking for a speaker on that or know somebody who does. I have had that happen. So you have to
Yes.
you have to talk
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, so letting people know that you are the author of a book will bring you speaking engagements,
Yeah.
consulting work, coaching work.
Yep.
Especially if you're writing about your expertise, it will
Mhm.
open doors like nothing else will.
Yep.
So,
Well, and you mentioned too. If you haven't written the book, it doesn't mean you also can't do something like this. In fact, there's a commitment level that happens the moment you put on the button or you start to talk about it. It means you're going to finish it, which is, I think, one of the hardest things for authors to get done.
Because it's always important and it's never urgent.
Yes.
So this creates a sense of urgency because other people will start to ask you, so how's the book coming? When's it due? And when can I expect to see my copy? That
Yes.
that creates a sense of urgency in all of us that will help us push through and get it out there.
Yes, it'll make it happen. And I love how you mentioned it'll help you with that kind of pithy elevator speech. The tighter you can get on promoting in like a couple sentences what your book's all about, the more sales you can do. And it gives you the chance to do some beta testing, right? I love how you said, "Oh, by the way, did you know that this connects to this article?" No, I didn't. Now maybe you should now maybe you'll be able to include that in a LinkedIn article or something about the topic.
Yes, because if you find that there's a Wall Street Journal article related to your book, your topic, well, that means you probably should be writing a blog post about that or commenting upon that content in some way. So yes, it gives you great ideas for getting your message out there even further.
Kathy, the other thing I just love too is that when you put yourself out there in this way, it creates the opportunity for dialogue and conversation. And I think that's the essence of what a book does. Books, I tell everybody all the time, books break down walls and build bridges. Be the beginning of that through a conversation and let the button do that. But here's the deal. If you're going to do a button, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, if you don't have a button, you can make one, or you can call Kathy, or you could use something else. Yeah,
Or
she's
make a
gonna do that
coffee
too.
mug.
Make a mug, right? Get creative. Get creative. But also, we already mentioned, I really want you guys listening to think of a couple of things. One, you've got to figure out how are you going to sell books, and don't let somebody say, "Oh, I don't have any cash," be an excuse. So, if figure out how to get a Square set up on your phone. It's so easy to take credit card payment now. So figure out a way. If someone wants a copy, you get them a copy. Also, always have a stack of books in your trunk with a pen to sign. Always. Hands down, you always want that. There's nothing worse than someone go, "Oh, I'd love a copy of your book," and you don't have one. They're not going to go to Amazon and purchase it likely. Let them buy it from you directly. Plus, you can sign it, and that's extra special, right? And I also think having some business cards on hand is not a bad thing either, because you can actually put them in as a bookmark, and that lets people know how else they can work with you, or how they can stay in contact with you, or how they can join your community. And that a lot of different ways for a lot of different authors. So, Kathy, I am just so thankful that you gave me the button, that you helped me to talk about something that I didn't know was all scary and exciting, but it was magical and joyous. And I'm just so grateful that you've been able to be a part of the podcast today.
Stephanie, this was so much fun. I am so thrilled that you invited me to be a part of this today and share some of these great ideas with your writers.
Don't break what isn't broken. I think too many times we opt to go after the newest fad in marketing without remembering that there are some evergreen and timeless strategies that work. They're so effective and memorable beyond belief. Kathy's button is one of them. Her button is simple, but it does the trick. Ask me about my book. That one sentence is a conversation starter. And remember what I've said before, the best marketing is really just a meaningful conversation. When you have a book that is poised to share value, don't withhold that value. Share it. And if you're terrified of starting that conversation, wear a button that entices somebody else to start it. Remember, book marketing doesn't have to be something altogether different from what you're already doing on the daily. If you'd like some infused inspiration, let's chat. We offer a 1-hour marketing strategy session that is sure to leave you with more easy and simple marketing ideas than you can tackle in a month, a year maybe even. Visit empowerprgroup.com/marketing strategy session to learn more and snatch a time to chat. I'd love to help. All right, empowered author, you know the drill. I'm a believer that empowered people empower people. I've empowered you. Now it's your turn to empower others.